Why don't we pass regulations that require AI-generated images to have a watermark or some other indicator that they are AI? We could. Of course, this would have to be an international agreement due to the way the internet transcends borders. If American-based AI companies add watermarks, people are likely to turn to Swedish or Bangladeshi ones that don't. Unfortunately, if we can't even convince every country to ban piracy websites, it will be hard to do the same for this. Why don't we pass regulations that require criminals hand themselves in? Software engineer here, enforcing a law where every image that everyone with an AI program makes an image is an exercise in futility. There are just too many independent people capable of doing it. Why not force images that are made without AI to have a watermark of some sort on them? This would be a great thought exercise for any amateur policymakers out there who think this would be easy. First, you have to define AI. Then, you have to define what constitutes AI generated. Broad strokes, that seems easy. But as always, it's the edge cases that get you. If I take a picture and then edit it in Photoshop, is that AI? No, probably not. What if I use Photoshop's magic eraser tool to remove an X from a family picture? HRM, that feels like AI. But it's for my own personal use. Do I have to watermark the photo that's going to hang in my dining room? If I write some code that, when run, generates an image, is that AI? What is AI then, if not computers generating images? Do we have to specify specific algorithms and mathematics that constitute AI? The set of those things is rapidly changing as the industry advances. Any law that did that would be outdated in a matter of months, etc. Because you have to be careful writing laws. When you start adding pointless laws for things that don't harm people, you encourage more lawlessness. Probably as effective as requiring every motor vehicle to be preceded by a pedestrian waving a red flag: n. Wikipedia.org Wiki Locomotive Acts Locomotives Act 1865. Mainly because we don't care to do so and it would be a massive PETA to enforce. There has been absolutely no effort made to identify altered photos or images based on things on the spectrum, from Photoshop at one end, to filters and color enhancement in the middle, to trivial things like good lighting and even well-thought-out positioning at the obviously okay side of things. This problem just feels like it could escalate. What problem exactly? That will dramatically impact the solution required and the willingness for others to support it. If it's just technophobic artists seeking to undermine their new competition to keep themselves in work, then they can basically bugger off. It's about videos and photos being used to coerce and blackmail people or as evidence in court, then it's a different matter entirely. But a watermark ain't gonna cut it anyway. Do you think it can be regulated? No, it's impossible. On the technical side, there is effort to do something like that, but with the opposite approach. There's the Adobe-led CAI Content Authenticity Initiative, which is behind major industry players like Microsoft, Qualcomm, ARM, and Nikon. But it's an open standard that could be implemented by competitors and FOSS projects too. The idea is to embed encrypted proof of provenance data in each image at each step. So cameras would have a cryptographic identifier. Editing software would add to the provenance data with each edit with a signature with information of the software used and what version. This history of the image combined with an analysis of the picture itself, which would have to be coherent with the reported history, would be hard to fake. It could be removed though, but a picture with a legitimate pedigree would be more credible than one with none. An AI image wouldn't have any digital history, or it could have a fake one that would be easy to spot, since it wouldn't match the end result depending on how easy it would be to circumvent the cryptographic aspect. This is an oversimplified explanation from memory of something I have heard a while ago and not researched, so take it with a grain of salt. But if you are interested, look it up. How would you enforce it if they are indistinguishable? I'm convinced the right answer is to flip the script. All major news organizations should require their photographers to use authenticated photos. Apple and Samsung and Google and Nikon and Canon and Sony should cryptographically validate photos taken on their phones and cameras, similar to what Adobe is doing. Then you presume everything is fake unless it's verified. If I want to draw a picture of someone else's art, no one can stop me. If I want to make a computer do that, no one can stop me. Art isn't about how special the human is that made it, it's about what it makes you feel when you see it. It's too late, the cat is out of the bag. How are you gonna enforce it? A large part of AI development is open source, anyone can do anything to it. Because people who are going to use them for illegal purposes won't abide by this. Because the effect of unethical, unwatermarked AI images would then be multiplied many times over. It's not AI. It doesn't have the watermark. It would only do more harm, because you can't bring every instance that is able to produce AI images to this agreement. And if almost every AI picture is clearly indicated as AI generated, the ones which aren't indicated would be considered as true images. And now imagine who would use that opportunity. It's probably going that way, but it will most likely be limited to specific topics like politics, and only really enforced for commercial entities. Platforms are already trying to implement things like this, but it's not easy. Legislation just takes time. I think there will be more legislation aimed at repercussions for bad people with bad intentions doing bad things, rather than bad content being labeled. Things like revenge porn, racism, etc. What would stop a real video from having the watermark added to it to confuse people? How can we enforce every single video to properly have the watermark if it is AI generated? If this were implemented imperfectly, it would simply add more to the confusion and potential deception, and a perfect implementation would essentially require world peace and, as others have pointed out, we can't even deal with piracy websites effectively. It's a hard problem to solve. I'm not trying to imply we shouldn't try, but the solution isn't going to be this simple. Regulations can't keep up with technology.